Hello, and welcome to TaleTalk English. Today, I want to share a powerful and emotional story about family, loss, respect, and communication. This story will help you improve your English through simple and natural sentences. Listen carefully and enjoy the story. My name is Emma. I am 17 years old, and I live with my mom in a small house in England. Our home is quiet now, but it was not always like this. 3 years ago, my father passed away. That day changed everything. I still remember the cold air outside the hospital and the sound of my mother's tears. Most of all, I remember the feeling of emptiness. My dad was my best friend. We watched movies together, cooked dinner together, and talked about everything. He always listened to me. He understood me. When he died, it felt like I had lost my safe place. My mom loved me very much, but she was grieving too. We both tried to move forward, but it was difficult. Sometimes we talked, sometimes we argued, sometimes we sat in silence because neither of us knew what to say. About a year ago, my mom started dating a man named Tom. He seemed kind and respectful. He spoke calmly and never pushed himself into my life. At first, I appreciated that. My mom had dated other men after my dad died, and none of those relationships lasted. I didn't want to get attached to someone who might disappear again. Then, one evening, my mom sat me down and told me that Tom was moving into our house. The news hit me harder than I expected. I asked her one question: "Will he try to be my dad?" She immediately shook her head. "No, he will never replace your father." "Promise?" "I promise." She told me he would not discipline me or act like my parent. I wanted to believe her, so I tried to accept the situation. A few months later, Tom officially moved in. Life changed. He wasn't mean or rude, but suddenly he was everywhere, at breakfast, at dinner, in the living room. Sometimes seeing him sit in places where my dad used to sit made me uncomfortable. I didn't know if my feelings were fair, but they were real. One Friday evening, my best friend Lily came over to my house. We spent time in the basement, my favorite place in the house. It had a couch, a television, and enough privacy to feel like my own space. While we were watching television, the remote suddenly stopped working. "I think the batteries are dead," I said. "Do you have extras?" Lily asked. I shrugged. "I don't know where they are." "I'll ask your mom." "Okay." Lily went upstairs and returned a few minutes later with new batteries. We replaced them, fixed the remote, and continued our evening. It seemed like a completely unimportant moment. The next morning, I sat at the kitchen table eating cereal when Tom walked into the room. He looked serious. Without saying good morning, he placed 2 batteries on the table in front of me. "Why are you giving me these?" I asked. "To prove a point," he said. I stared at him, confused. He explained that Lily had gone upstairs to ask for batteries instead of me doing it myself. "You could have handled it yourself." "The remote stopped working," I replied. "I didn't know where the batteries were." "You could have checked." His tone felt sharp and critical. At that moment, my mom entered the kitchen. After hearing the situation, she said something that surprised me. "You could have gone upstairs yourself." I felt hurt immediately. It wasn't really about the batteries anymore. It was about the way Tom was speaking to me and the fact that my mom seemed to agree with him. Tom continued explaining why he thought I should have handled the problem differently. The more he talked, the smaller I felt. Finally, he walked away. I sat there staring at my cereal. My mom sighed. "He's just trying to help." That made me angry. "That didn't feel like help," I said. My mom told me I was making the situation bigger than it was. Then I said the words that had been building inside me all morning. "He's not my dad." The room went silent. I stood up and left. In my bedroom, I sat on my bed trying to calm down. I kept replaying the conversation in my head. Maybe I could have checked the batteries. Maybe Tom was technically right, but that wasn't the point. The point was how he spoke to me. The point was the promise my mother had made. I picked up my phone and sent her a message. He was out of line. He shouldn't talk to me like that. He's not my dad. Please do something. Then I waited. No response. 10 minutes passed, then 30, an hour, still nothing. I felt ignored. Eventually, I sent another message. I think we should talk. This is important. A few moments later, my phone buzzed. The reply contained only 2 words, "Not now." I stared at the screen in disbelief. Not now? When then? Tomorrow? Next week? Never? The silence hurt more than the argument. As I sat in my room, my eyes landed on a photograph of my dad and me. I picked it up and stared at it. "I miss you," I whispered. Tears filled my eyes. I realized how much of my pain was still connected to losing him. Later that afternoon, I decided to speak with my mom face to face. When I walked into the living room, she and Tom were sitting together on the couch. "Can we talk?" I asked. "Later," she replied. Again, that word, later. Something inside me broke. "I just want you to listen," I said. My voice grew louder. I told her that I felt disrespected and that it seemed like Tom was acting like a parent. "You promised me he wouldn't do that." The room became silent. Finally, my mom spoke. "I did promise that." I waited. "But that doesn't mean Tom can never tell you when he thinks you're wrong." The answer hurt. Tom then spoke for himself. "I wasn't trying to be your dad," he said. "I was trying to teach you something." "About batteries?" I asked. He sighed. He explained that he grew up in a family where people were expected to solve problems independently. When Lily came upstairs instead of me, he assumed I was avoiding responsibility. I couldn't believe it. "You don't even know me," I said. "You judged me over something small." For the first time, Tom looked uncomfortable. Then my mom surprised me. She admitted she understood why I was upset. That was the first time all day I felt heard. I asked why she ignored my messages. She looked down. "I needed time to think." I shook my head. "I felt like you didn't care." Her eyes softened immediately. Then she said something that changed the conversation. "When your dad died, I didn't know how to be both parents." I had never heard her speak so openly before. She explained how difficult life had been after losing my father. She had been trying to work, pay bills, support me, and manage her own grief at the same time. For the first time, I saw her pain more clearly, but I still needed her to understand mine. "I know you've been through a lot," I said, "but that doesn't change how I felt." She nodded. "You're right." Then Tom spoke again. This time his voice was softer. "I'm sorry." I looked at him. "I shouldn't have spoken to you like that." He explained that he had been stressed about problems at work and had reacted too strongly. For the first time, I saw something different in him. Not someone trying to replace my father, just a person who had made a mistake. Still, there was something deeper I needed to say. I took a deep breath. When Dad died, my whole world changed. Both of them listened quietly. "I know you're not trying to replace him," I said to Tom, "but every time someone new gets closer to Mom, I feel like I'm losing something." My voice cracked. "It makes Dad feel farther away." The words finally came out, the truth I had been carrying for years. Tears filled my eyes. My mom's eyes filled with tears too. She walked closer and gently held my hands. "Tom being here doesn't erase your dad," she said. "Nothing could ever erase him." I listened quietly. Moving forward doesn't mean forgetting him. Those words stayed with me. For years, I had been afraid that healing meant leaving my father behind. Maybe that wasn't true. Tom then shared something I never knew. His older brother had died when he was young. He understood grief more than I realized. "I know I'm not your dad," he said, "and I don't want to replace him." For the first time, I believed him. That evening, we talked for nearly an hour. We shared stories, memories, and feelings we had kept hidden for too long. Slowly, the tension disappeared. The next morning felt different, lighter. When I entered the kitchen, my mom smiled. A few minutes later, Tom walked in holding a TV remote. "Quick question," he said. I looked suspicious. "What kind of batteries does this need?" I rolled my eyes. "Open the back and check." He laughed. "Excellent advice." For the first time since the argument, we all laughed together. Later that afternoon, I visited my father's grave. I stood there quietly holding flowers. After several minutes, I spoke. "Hi, Dad." I told him everything: the batteries, the argument, the apologies, the conversation. Then I said something I had never said before. "I'm trying to move forward." The words felt strange, but they also felt right. I finally understood something important. Moving forward does not mean forgetting. You can miss someone every day and still continue living your life. You can carry their memory with you while making room for new people and new experiences. When I returned home that evening, my mom was cooking dinner and Tom was setting the table. The house felt warm, comfortable, hopeful. Families are not perfect. People make mistakes. People misunderstand each other. But when they listen, apologize, and try again, relationships can become stronger. As I sat down for dinner, I looked around the table and smiled. Life was different now. It would never be exactly the same, but maybe that was okay. Because for the first time in a long time, I believed things could still be good. And that was enough. Thank you again for spending your time here with me. Take care of yourself, keep practicing English every day, and see you next time in another TaleTalk English.